Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the Global Reality Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here tonight for a live Friday night edition of the broadcast. Friday, February 24th into Saturday, February 25th, 2012. Thanks for being with us. I am Josh Reeves, your host, and as usual, we will be getting into all sorts of various topics of information and whatnot here tonight on the broadcast. News, emails. Also, of course, continue to read from Zechariah Sessions, The End of Days. And, yeah, there should be a hoot as it always is. Thanks so much for being with us. Hope you're having a good Friday night, kicking off the weekend with us here at the Global Reality. My website where this broadcast originates, of course, is theglobalreality.com. It's www.theglobalreality.com. And there you'll find everything pertaining to my work, from all my documentaries to various video clips to books, audiobooks, runs the gamut up there at the website. My documentaries, Secret Right Volume 2, which is the newest one. And this is my second volume of films pertaining to the Secret Right, the Council for National Policy, the John Birch Society, the origins of the Truth Movement and the Patriot Movement, which I also cover a bit in the new Red Ice interview that I've done that's out this week. That's up there at rediceradio.com, Red Ice Creations. Go there and check that out, and you'll have to get a subscription to get hour 2, although it's floating around out there on the internet already. But you know, trying to help them out and support their work. You know, they need help and support to continue just like I do. You know, that's one of the reasons I've never gone to some sort of any kind of a pay format here with my show, even though I could, is because all you do is you just open it up for people to subvert that. You know what I mean? So it's pretty much the same either way. But yeah, the news documentary, The Secret Right Volume 2, it's up there for sale right now. It gets into all kinds of interesting stuff and the information that is vitally important. Some of it is on YouTube, yes, not all of it. And if you want to see the complete picture, you have to get the DVD or the Blu-ray. And speaking of that, I am caught up on shipping. Those of you who have been waiting, some people have been waiting 3 weeks or so. Be patient; it's on its way. I don't have a chance to get to the post office all the time, and oftentimes when I do try to go, there's so many people to take 2 hours because I go there with a stack of shit, and it takes a clerk an hour to get through it all. So I try to go during times when I can use the automated thing. But anyway, the shipping is all caught up. I had a few stragglers. I just want to put this out there. The P.O. Box thing that we have is for donations for people who absolutely can't use PayPal, because PayPal is what we prefer. But we've had a couple of people, and I've never put this out there. We had a couple of people who have sent in money orders and stuff. But I've never really opened it up for that. So please only try to use that in, last case scenario. If you absolutely have no other way to get the cash to me to get a film, you can use the PO box. Just do me a favor, make sure you put a note inside there that has the address that you want it shipped to, because what I'm running into here is I've got a few people who've done that, but then they only put the address on their money order or something, and then you cash that and it's gone. You don't have the address. I think I've got everybody squared away. If you sent a money order or DVD, and just please shoot me an email and send me your address. I think the only one I've gotten, I think Ty, if you know who you are out there, he sent a message, but I didn't get your address, Ty. So if you could just send me email, globalrealityshow@gmail.com, send me your email address. The other one was Metal Roy, and I got his address. So I think that's all of them. But anyway, other than that, all the DVDs and shipping and all that stuff's caught up. I've got caught up on people, ones that stuff that people back orders and stuff people hadn't got, or reorders that people from stuff that got lost or whatever. All that's been caught up. We're caught up all the way to orders that came in this week. We got a couple in this week. I gotta say though, the two shows that I've done, two big shows. I mean, big listening audience to promote the film Serial Volume 2. I mean, I've only been asked to come on two shows, and so far. But the Lee Rogers Show, from the Lee Rogers Show, and yielded no sales from the Lee Rogers Show. I was unbelievable. That's the first time that's ever happened. I thought we at least got a few after being on there, not one at all. And then only gotten like 2 or 3 since being on the Red Ice thing. And I guess that's only been out, hadn't been out a week or so, but it's been out 4 or 5 days. But, I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, I don't know. I go around and look at some of these. I look at some of these YouTube videos sometimes, and I swear I will never do this, and I will just allow my videos to remain in obscurity before I ever do this. But I don't know. I have a sneaking suspicion that a whole lot of these quote unquote truther videos and conspiracy videos and Alex Jones stuff, these guys are going. I think they're going and hitting their own videos a bunch of times. And racking up the views so that their videos climb in the charts. They get friends to do it for them and stuff like that. Because I see some of these videos from people who don't have radio shows, have never made films, and they have some of the shittiest content, shittiest bogus bunk info with the crappiest little images, and they'll have 500,000 hits. Or 750,000 hits or 1 million hits, and it'll just be the worst thing you ever seen in your life. The worst unwatchable crap. But then you look at some of my films and some of my stuff compared to other things out there, and I've felt for a long time, but I never get up here and talk about it, and I hardly ever mention it because I don't want to sound like Alex Jones, because he's always talking about, oh, folks, YouTube, they're conspiracy against my videos, folks. They're trying to shut me down. Now I'm brain damaged. You better believe it. But no, I mean, I haven't ever, got up here and cried conspiracy and all that. But I mean, it's an absolute fact that YouTube has. There's definitely been some chicanery going on with my numbers on my videos before. They've reset. They reset one of mine. It had like 40,000 hits, and they reset it all the way back to 0 one time. And then they said, oh, we're sorry. We noticed that we did that, so we'll reset it back. When they reset it back, they set it back to like 21,000, so it was like half of what it already had. And of course, that was, one of my, info-packed videos. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like it was one of my videos when I shot at a concert or something, or, a Demigods video or something. It was actual, info. And then they wouldn't allow the Haiti Quake video to be posted. They were supposed to for a while, supposed for a long time. And then just out of nowhere one day, they just decided for very vague reasons, yeah, we're not, that violates some copyright of ours, and we're not going to really tell you exactly what it is. There's all kinds of videos all over YouTube with footage from movies and stuff in it. I mean, my goodness. But, yeah, I definitely think that there's I felt this last time when I made Secret Ride Volume 1. I thought it was all in my head, and then more stuff started to happen, more info started coming out, and things started to progress. And then now with this one, there's no question that people are tending to ignore it, and people are tending to act like it's not there. But I'm not going to go away, and the information's not going to go away. And you think these ass clowns would have learned their lesson by now, that when the more that you suppress something, and the more that you make something seem like taboo information, the more that people are going to want to be into it and want to look into it. And that is certainly the case with this secret right stuff in the CMP. I mean, there's more questions than there are answers, but there's no real clear way to get answers. I still say the way that if you're going to get answers on the CMP, the best thing you can do is get intel on when they're, and a lot of them, they admit where they're going to have them and when. There's been 2 in the past 6 months that I could have gone to and covered, but nobody out there in the listening audience wanted to cough up any cash for me to be able to go out and do that, so we couldn't go and do that, and that sucks. We had 2 big opportunities, folks. I'm still sore about it. I'm still pissed about it. Got to say, we had 2 big opportunities to be able to go out to some of these secret enclaves. And the best thing to do would just be to, go out there with cameras and stuff and monitor who's coming in and out, especially if you find out they may admit to a lot of where these CMP meetings are at. So you just go and, get a bunch of people to go, have everybody have cameras and be staked out in different locations, get a long telephoto lens and stake out across the street from wherever the parking lot is or where the parking garage is. And just sit there and snap pictures of everybody going in and going out. Nothing illegal about that. They watch us everywhere. Let's watch them a little bit. But see, nobody has been willing to do that. Shocks and appalls me that, okay, fine. Nobody wants to donate, so I can go do that. But nobody else wants to go do that on their own accord. I mean, it's that kind of stuff like that that's at times made me want to give up doing this because, but now I'm just have the attitude of I'm just going to watch it, sit back and watch it all happen. And when it happens, I'm just going to sit over here and say, I told you so, but I'm getting tired of saying I told you so. That's the whole thing is that it does get we have had opportunities to have more information on this group, but people aren't taking the bull by the horns when they should be. You know what I mean? And so it's real hard to listen to people bitch and piss and moan about Alex Jones and the whole end of this, and we have opportunities to be able to gain insight on it. Nobody wants to get off their lazy fucking asses and do anything about it. I've sunk, 30, 40 grand into exposing these fuckers over the past 4 years, only to be ignored. And, well, ignored to a certain extent, but then, you'll have people who, well, I don't really care. That's always going to happen. But I don't know. I just think it's funny when I see a lot of people, piggybacking a lot of the stuff that I get into talking about here. But that's the whole thing is that we've already reached quite a few people so far with the film, just from the first 2 parts we've had up and some of the pay-per-view things that we had up, and also with the DVDs and the Blu-rays we shipped so far. But it's a perfect kind of movie to have screenings and have discussion night over at your house. Invite some friends, neighbors, coworkers. Just get a group of people together that you think are into this stuff or are into this stuff and may want to go a little further. Invite them over to your house, host a little party, and put the film on, have a discussion. Pop some drinks and, maybe pass around a doob or something and, get everybody in the zone and have a discussion, and you can pause it and stop and get on a tangent about one piece of information. And then once you get off that tangent, you play the movie again. That'll go because the movie is kind of sequenced for you to do that. It's kind of sequenced for you to sit there and watch up to a certain part of it and pause it. And then, maybe go and do some research if you're by yourself, or go and, look into some of that stuff or talk to some other people about it. And then, okay, next, push play again, go back and watch a little more. And when it gets on to something else, pause that, discuss that, go look that up. It's a good, it's a good thing to do because, information like this with you know, I mean, here's the thing. In the realm and scope of the research world, there is very little things, and I think that's probably what's kept me on the air and kept me going as long as I have been, is that there are very few things that very few topics or subjects or whatever else that one can be a pioneer of in this day and age, you know, because almost everything, you know, there's already other people out there who have become experts on this, but you know, I would say after almost 5 years of researching the CMP and the whole secret right thing, I'm as much of an expert on it as anybody is, maybe even more than some people who claim to be are. The rock wall thing, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I'm as much of an expert as anybody could be on that, considering most of the information that's out there. Scratch that. About 98% of the information that's been put out there so far on the rock wall has been bunk. But we're going to change that. You better bet your ass it's going to happen. I mean, it's on. It's going to happen. I mean, we're going to uncover some stuff. You know, it is going to happen. It's going to be a reality. But you know, the thing about it is that people have to take it into their own hands. They have to, you know, expand on the things that I've found and take that even farther. That's why having these discussion groups and stuff in your house, you can get people together and pause and stop and talk and discuss. That's good because, you know, again, as I was saying, you know, there's very few topics you can get in on this stuff and kind of have it be a niche because everything's just been covered to the tits. And I think that's been my saving grace is the fact that, you know, nobody else, when I started talking about the CMP stuff and the secret right, nobody else at that time was talking about it. Thankfully, other people have come on and started talking about it more now, and more people know about what it is. So that's good. So that was, you know, that's been something for me that's kind of separated me from the pack of everybody else. And now the Rockwall stuff as well. You know, I mean, I've got two things here, and that's what I'm going to continue to do with all of my work. I'm going to continue to base my work on bringing out those things that nobody's brought out. There's lots of them. You know, there's tons of them. And so the more and more movies and radio shows and mini documentaries and all that stuff that I make, the more you start to see over time through the breadth of work that I've done, you start to see just how many topics there are that, you know, supposed truth tellers or researchers or whatever have you just aren't talking about. And then that brings up you to start asking the tough questions of why that is. Why aren't they talking about all these subjects? Look at all these different subjects and that Josh Reeves has talked about, and these guys aren't talking about that. And then you go and look at the secret right information and you say, well, you know, there's your answer right there. That's why they aren't talking about it. I mean, you know, people talk about gatekeeping. You know, the whole entire world is being gatekept. You know what I mean? That's what you really start to find after digging in this long enough. The whole damn world's gatekept. I mean, even some things that, you know, well, I mean, it's funny to me, a lot of this Rockwall information that I was going on good faith and believing it was real sounded good to me because I checked a lot of it out in a jive. But then, you know, I get out in the field, start doing my own work on it, my own research and doing my own looking at this and biff, bam, boom, you know, you start to find out that, wait a minute, this is not right. We've got some emails to get in here tonight. Always love to have emails. GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com. That's GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com. Love to have those anytime you want to send them in. Comments, questions, anything. You can send them in live with me here tonight if you have a question or anything else like that. Be sure to read it here on air for you. Let's get into some emails here tonight. This is from Sean. He says, this is fantastic news here. He says, hey, Josh, I wasn't sure which email to use. I have two on you. Yeah, only use this email, the goldbergounshow@gmail.com. Use that for any correspondence. The other one, dayglow76@yahoo.com, is just for if you want to send something like a direct payment through PayPal or something like that. You don't want to use a chip and banner or donate button. That's how you do that. Anyway, I got you the Secret Right Volume 2 and research pack and bumper sticker. Thanks a lot. Your work here is phenomenal. I put it right up there with the likes of William Cooper and many others. Too many to list. Well, that's awesome. I mean, I get that a lot lately, and that's just hard to believe. I mean, I've been doing this for almost 5 years on the air, researching way longer than that, an activist and doing 9/11 True stuff before that, and out in the streets, and so I've been doing this longer than I've just been on air. But I started noticing that a couple of years ago, this shift kind of happening. And, the very few people stick around doing this for very long. And once you're here for as long as I've been here, half a decade almost now, 5 years is you're a fucking seasoned vet in the likes of, conspiracy research radio. You know what I mean? I mean, a lot of people don't stick around this long. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty rad. I mean, I've had a lot of people commenting on that. Some people considering me into the, in the upper echelon now. And I think the work speaks for itself. Has less to do with me and more to do with the work and the information that I've put out, being up there. Not me being up there with those people, but the information itself being up there with the likes of the the greats or what have you, the researchers and stuff. Yeah, I mean that's to me what it's about. It's had a tremendous impact on me and my friends that are able to comprehend. Much respect to you and your efforts. You kick ass, man. I really admire you. Okay, enough ass kissing. I own a small design development firm here in Tampa, Florida. I've supported you with some funds, but not as much as I'd like to. Saying yes, I am too in the shitter when it comes to coping in this fucked up Fed matrix, chasing Federal Reserve notes. I fucking hate it. I own land in Belize and have threatened to retreat there years ago. Maybe I should have. Anyway, I do total engineering, RE, civil, architectural, and industrial. We as a firm offer our resources to your efforts on the Rockwall project. We want to contribute as much as you would like. Go to my website for examples of our work, mainly shopping centers. But we can help with mapping, surveys, architectural layouts, etc. If you like, we have AutoCAD 2009, plus 30 other programs to get the job done. I'm thinking this could be added to your research pack, drawings or whatever we can CAD up for the project. I heard your broadcast the other week when you threw your hands up because no support for the project. All I can say is hang in there, bro. There are some of us out here who sincerely need you to continue your work. And I get told that all the time, and that's why I'm still here. I've called your show and we talked for a good while. I like your style. Well, that's awesome. So mapping, surveys, architectural layouts, man, that's incredible. Yeah, I'm going to need it. That means you could probably do, from what that means, you could probably do, GPR data then, correct? I mean, Sean, ground pitch ready radar. That's what we need. Because I need somebody to going to give me results. It's not going to bullshit me. You know what I mean? Because they're probably going to see some stuff and they go, oh, our machines aren't working correctly, blah, blah, blah. Anomalous data. But yeah, I've got the overlay, Sean, of the map that came from NASA. And I've just kind of got my own little crude, it's pretty accurate, at least within a few hundred feet, I think, that I've got overlaid on my Google Earth. It'd be interesting if I could maybe get you the map, Sean. Maybe you could get me a more, if you do mapping service, you may be able to take this map and do a better overlay over a mapping, an actual, like a Landsat image or something that I could be able to do. And that would be a gigantic help. A super duper gigantic help, because then we would actually have the map that came from NASA that we could overlay over actual images where you could, from satellites where you could look, pull it in and look at actual locations. Because I know the area so well, just like me and my buddy were doing the other day. As soon as I see it on the satellite image, I can know exactly where it is and just go right to it. So that could be huge. Well, that's fantastic, Sean. I appreciate that, man. I'll definitely hit you up for that. Man. So, and that's really awesome. A lot of people want to volunteer to do this. That's the thing that I'm going to be wanting to do first is mapping, GPR data, ground penetrating radar, that kind of thing, before there's any digging done. And like I said, we've got a dig site secured, but I just don't have any more information on it yet because the property owner just recently passed away. And so the family's dealing with all this stuff right now. So I don't have any more information yet, but as soon as I do, I'll find out. But apparently, from what I'm understanding, we've got, we're basically going to be able to have a dig, and, with people, already got people coming forward that want to help dig, people that want to run backhoes and diggers and pumps and all that stuff, which is fantastic. I mean, a lot of people want to volunteer manual labor is really good. All you really need now is some real honest to God people with archaeological experience. That's really what I need now. You know what I mean? People who have experience with sites and that kind of thing. But it's all going to happen, man. I mean, I can't believe how many people have wanted to volunteer up stuff. If we just get some help in the financial department for the budget for the film, and it's going to require more money once we start, being able to start digging stuff. But I'm not even worried about that, because I already have people. I've had people for a couple of years now who've already said, when it's real, get a hold of me, or I'll get a hold of you, or whatever. When it's real, we'll go from there. And when it's real means when we have a site and we have a place where we know we can dig, where we know there's part of the wall at. And that's getting more real and more real every day, it seems. I don't know. I mean, everything seems to be, every time I turn around and I think, it's not going to happen, something else happens, and we get another connection or another hookup. I found 80 acres for sale out there. I don't know how much that would be. Fucking $2 million, probably. $4 million, who knows? I don't know how much it would be out there, but there's 80 acres I found for sale out there right on top of the wall. Can you imagine that? Shit. That's all. I was fucking around with the guys in the chat room last night. I was like, you guys seen these Hobbit houses? You go type in Google, you type in a Hobbit house, like the first link that comes up is it, and you can build these sustainable Hobbit houses for like less than $4,000. And I was like, fuck it, let's go buy. Who wants to pitch in and go buy 80 acres and build a fucking sustainable Hobbit house community and live off the fucking land and fence that bitch off and just have a little, Hobbit house commune and just, work on digging up this fucking wall on 80 acres, That'd be the shit, wouldn't it? Well, fuck it, let's go. Let's do it. Oh man, that shouldn't be all over the news, especially here in Dallas, especially right there where all the Bible thumpers are. Some strange commune of crazy hippies living in Hobbit houses has moved in here to Rockwall County. They have machine gun turrets and anti-aircraft missiles. We don't know why they'd have that. They have Hobbit houses. They seem to be so peaceful. Yeah, we got anti-aircraft missiles to keep you fucking people coming out fucking with our goddamn wall. Gone are the days of Grandpa keeping his shotgun locked in the closet. No, fuck no. We're pulling out the surface-to-air missiles in this day and age. Oh man, yeah. Then they just call us Al Qaeda and come and bomb us all and be over. Oh man, can't even have any fun in the United States of America anymore. Can't even start your own commune archaeological dig and fence yourself off from humanity and arm yourself to the teeth without getting messed with. I mean, what kind of world do we live in? I can't even start my own peaceful compound without the feds wanting to come in and bust it. We ain't bothering you. Don't bother us. Let's see here what else we have on the... yeah, that's great news, Sean. I'll definitely be in touch with you. I'll definitely check out your website. And let me know if you think we might be able to do something where I can send you that map. I can send you a link to it, But if I could get a better, overlay or something, with actual Landsat images, man, that would be fantastic. Because then we can start identifying for sure where, pieces of this wall are at. And I mean, like I said, I know where a lot of them are at, but once I had to find out that what we've been told was the wall up to this point hasn't been the wall that the scientific community's been basing their assumptions on, that was kind of a game changer. I saw this, and this was just the craziest shit. I mean, let me tell you, I get some crazy. Okay, I get me some crazy. when it comes to doing this show and putting videos out there, being, you know, an internet personality, I get some crazy. I definitely get some crazy from some people. But this is one of those things, and you know what? I mean, it sounds crazy, but maybe there's something to it. Maybe I'm just an idiot. But let me read you this. This is the email. It says, Freedom Lovers Enlistment Opportunity. That's a strange word. Think about that. Freedom Lovers Enlistment Opportunity. An opportunity for people who love freedom to enlist in something. Somebody get Michael Aquino on the horn. This sounds like some of that. You know what I mean? That's Men Who Stare at Goats stuff. Freedom Lovers Enlistment Opportunity. And then it takes me to this link, creationlightship.com, Special Forces Report PDF. The United States of America constitutional forefathers using time travel technologies. Let me read that for you one more time. The United States of America constitutional forefathers. Constitutional forefathers. Who are those people? Using time travel technologies. Oh, I'm in just at that. You know what I'm saying? America constitutional forefathers using time travel technology. You got me. Where do I sign up? Yeah, I'll sign up. I'll enlist. Sure. Do I get to see and be a part of constitutional forefathers using time travel technologies? Because if so, I'm down. The United States of America constitutional forefathers using time travel technologies are spearheading a multinational strike force to prevent the annihilation of this planet. All branches of our military from past war timelines have been transported into the future to 2100 and beyond to receive training in alien defense warfare. These elite special time travel forces were brought back to this time period to engage the aliens. These battles are taking place above and below ground, in outer space and within multiple timelines unknown to the general populace. This special event lecture is about you enlisting with the United States of America Special Elite Forces. Once involved in this momentous project, you will be bilocated to begin your work while simultaneously carrying on your regular daily life. All welcome. Those who have enlisted have found the experience rewarding with no disruption of their daily life. So wait a minute here. I'm gonna enlist. You're gonna transport me to the year 2100 to receive training in the alien defense warfare. Then you're gonna bilocate me to begin my work while my other life is gonna simultaneously carry on. Could you please explain to me how you're gonna go about doing that? I'm all ears. I got a pretty open mind, and I'll delve into the world of crazy every now and again. But, that sounds a little fantastical. Again, not saying it might not even be true, but I just would like some clarification on how you're going to bilocate me. Do I get a clone? Because that'd be fantastic. If you can just, if you're going to send me off to do some training for, to fight aliens and leave this other fucker back here to do research and, fuck with his cat and play. I'm cool with that, man. But, just break this down for me. So, is this like, am I being enlisted now by the aliens? Is this some, is this my marching papers here, my marching orders? I don't even know what to say about this. There's not even a link or anything that says go here to sign up. It just says, please sign up here, but it just says, please sign up and become one of us, but it doesn't have any link. This is whack. This is whack kookery. Yeah, there it is. There's the link. I don't know, man. again, I'm pretty open-minded. I'm pretty down with anything and everything, but I just would need a little bit more evidence on that. Wow, I'm just speechless. I don't even know what to say. Here's one from Paul. Paul says, so I was reading up on the ancient rock wall and had a thought. The wall is buried under clay and dirt. No, it's actually marine sediment from the last flood. All ancient cultures mention the Great Deluge. Sitchin mentions in a few of his books that the deluge destroyed many Anunnaki settlements. Do you think this could be one of their settlements that they established in North America prior to the deluge? And, and when it happened, it was covered in mud like many of the cities and their original landing place. Sounds like a good possibility, in my opinion. Have a good weekend. Could be, Paul, but I don't think who built the rock wall were Anunnaki. At least not who originally built it. It seems that it was built so far back in antiquity that we're talking long before the Anunnaki were said to have been on Earth. But there were, there were giants in those days, and apparently, from what I gather from my research, the rock wall was built by a powerful tribe known as the Rama Wedawanka. They were giants. They were known to have a considerable habitation throughout the United States. And essentially, they were just, people. The smaller people got tired of them and wiped them out. And then you had, you had the Great Flood or whatever after that. But yeah, you're exactly right. Okay, here's the thing with the rock wall. You got to dig like 30 feet down through the marine sediment from the flood till you get to the wall. Well, when you get to the top of the wall, the wall in total length is about 80 feet. Now, John Lindsay's dig in 98 only excavated about, from what I could tell, they got down to the wall. That's 30 feet, but then they only went down not very far after that. They didn't go only about 30 feet. But when you get down to 25 feet above the top of the wall, you start to see blue shale deposited, and that happened after the deluge. So you see that blue shale deposited, but everything below that is pre-flood. So what I need to do, and because this is not indicative in the video that John Lindsay and them shot, what I want to do is when we excavate some of this is to be able to look at the changes, because you definitely can see changes throughout the wall that gives the impression that peoples or multiple different types of peoples built on top of this already existing structure, meaning it was built by this race of giants pre-flood. They were wiped out, and then people that came later inhabited it and built onto it. And you can definitely see that it was added onto throughout the years. And then you get above the blue shale, and that's when you start to see a change in the building structure. When you get to the very top of it, it's a concrete like structure, like a sandstone type. So I don't think this. It's possible, Paul, but I don't think this has anything to do with the Anunnaki. This is more like the the Nephilim or I don't know. I mean, there seems to be evidence that there were giants here before the Anunnaki were here, and that this possibly was one of the things that they used with the genetic manipulation experiments. It's hard to say. But anyway, yeah, thanks for the email there, Paul. This one's from Jeff. Jeff says, there is an area that I grew up in There are anomalies around the area that I cannot explain. H.P. Lovecraft visited the area of Devil's Lake and said that the area contained power zones of ancient giant beings that he called the Cthulhu giant beings. Now, that's interesting because a lot of the parts around the rock wall, I found power lines around. There seems to be something about the area that has power generating qualities to it. Well, the wall definitely does. It has piezoelectric properties from the crystalline structure. But I noticed that in the video that John Lindsay had shot at his dig in 98, that the guy who wrote that book, The Giza Power Plant, can't remember that guy's name, but he was there at the dig. And I'm going, what's that? What's he doing here? He must have, he must think that this ties in somehow. So that's interesting stuff. H.P. Lovecraft visited the area of Devil's Lake and said that the area contained power zones of ancient giant beings that he called the Cthulhu giant beings. Well, that's different than the sea monster Cthulhu things, right? Is he actually talking about giant people here? Here are two websites you can check out. Another interesting fact about the area is that the backside of the lake is owned by the government. It is the old Badger ammunition plant of Wisconsin and contains a large section that is underground. That's interesting stuff, Jeff. Thanks so much for sending that. Yeah, it does appear. I was just mind blown. I mean, the whole outside perimeter around the wall, that's where all the big mounds are. The old downtown area. They built the entire old downtown area of Rockwall on top of these old mounds. And the reason that I think that there's been so much secrecy around it is they didn't want people to know, number one, that these were Indian burial grounds that the whole city was built on. Because, people are superstitious and they've seen too many movies and everything else. But also they thought there might be a curse or something of that nature. And so that's why they've kept it covered up, because the locations that from the stuff that we heard from these old newspaper reports are exactly in a straight line south, only about 10 miles from where downtown is. And they are directly, I was looking at the map last night, that location, Buffalo, what is now Heath, Texas, you're only talking about 10 miles, and it's on the western side of the wall. And that's where the skeletons and all that stuff and that big bird and that cave they found, that's where that was found. Well, that's only about 10 miles or so, maybe not even that. 5, 8, 6, 7, 8 miles, maybe at the most. Directly right in a straight line from where the mounds of downtown are. So, yeah, the more I look at this, the more I'm thinking that's exactly why they wanted to keep this covered up. Matt says, do you have any information on the equestrian order of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem? Yeah, that's, they're another one of those groups that, you have the Templars, you have the Hospitallers, the Knights Hospitaller of St. John of Jerusalem. You had the Knights Hospitaller of St. Mary of Jerusalem, the Teutonic Knights, Knights of St. Lazarus. I mean, it's another one of these Roman Catholic secret societies and orders that existed during the time of the Crusades. I mean, I don't really know much else. I mean, they were... They're still going today, and I know that a lot of the heads of this order have been, the pretty much the tip top tier of the priest class and bloodlines and everything else. But yeah, I mean they're another one of those groups that's steering world affairs. They're part of the priest class, no question. And they're another one of these groups that's steering world events on the restriction of knowledge. But yeah, they're definitely an important part of the link of the puzzle. I really don't know what I can add to that would help you out, but they're definitely part of the priest class power structure. And there's many of those different groups, and they're still operating and very much involved in the world power structure today as they were 1,000 years ago. They're just not out in public, and a lot of people don't even know they're there, but that doesn't mean that they don't have an impact. Hi, Josh. I'll try and keep this one short. I was stoned the last time I emailed you. I'm not saying I'm not stoned now. Yeah, you keep that to yourself. I don't care. I'm listening to an archive of your latest show, and you mentioned the writing on the Bush Creek artifact, which made me think of an unknown writing on the artifacts Klaus Donna talked about. I copied an extract from some website, and I found some similar writings. Yeah, it does look similar to what's on the rock wall, what's on that thing I talked about last night, the engraved stone. I don't know if you recall me mentioning Klaus Donna on the artifact he lectures about. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's funny just for his accent. Well, this is all more stuff for me, but yeah, he's got a bunch of different. Yeah, well, thank you so much. There's a lot of different examples in here of this pre-old. It's 6,000 years older than Sanskrit, and it's this old ancient language. It does look very similar than what was found on the 2.5-ton garnet stone there near Rockwall, which Congressman Ralph Hall allegedly has in his home. That's from Arlen's. I was just listening to your February 23rd broadcast on YouTube, laughing my fucking ass off as usual when you started talking about the wandering planet theory. I myself came to hear about this theory after watching the documentary called Thunderbolts of the Gods, which postulates that we live in an electric universe and that nebula clouds or an electric plasma clouds are stars, and stars and planets come into existence via this, which ties into the wandering planet theory. I was also wondering if you had listened to Henrik Palmgren's interview with Tony McLaughlin. No, I have not. On the Saturn death cult, the polar configuration is quite interesting, what Troy outlines, and this also ties into the wandering planet theory. Also come across Steve Quayle. He talks a lot about the giants. Nephilim has quite a bit of info on the subject from across the U.S., although, if I'm not mistaken, he comes from, he's one of Jones' buddies. But, that doesn't mean he doesn't put out some stuff that's, factual and true. But yeah, Steve Quayle is he's a fearmonger. Hope you get what you need to do the Rockwall film so you can put the cat among the pigeons and watch all hell break loose. Yeah. Yeah, me too. If you do want to help us out with that, we, we've got a $1,500 goal for our media budget set there. We have about a $5,000 total goal. Somebody wants to come in and be a producer, executive producer, and drop some of that cash down, please do so. My website, theglobalreality.com. Because like I said, it's getting real now. We're getting land secured. We're getting people together who want to do this. We just need some help for a budget to get going. So definitely help out. We have a chipping banner up there for that as well. Matt says about 15 minutes into the Secret Volume 2, 49 more minutes. During the report about Johnny Gosh, something clicked in my mind. Psychics used for missing bodies might be a type of new age propaganda and occult crime cover-up simultaneously. What do you think? Psychics used for missing... I don't know. I mean, I don't know how that would be new age propaganda. I mean, if it works, and there have been some cases where there's been psychics who, legitimately found people. But you're right. I mean, it is interesting that you would see the use of this in mainstream, police work or anything else. Maybe it's something like, the fact that these ritual murders or these, stuff like Johnny Gosh or, other people like him and these sexual ritual murders, raping 12-year-old boys at Bohemian Grove and blowing their brains out and then dumping their bodies on some back North 40 piece of the property at the Grove. Let the vultures just pick them clean. And then bringing in a psychic, and then, a psychic maybe has more of an ability to pick up on a signal, and then the psychic homes in on because, they killed this person they're looking for was killed. The public thinks it's just a missing child. They don't know they were, abducted and raped and made a snuff film out of and had their brains blown out at the Grove by a bunch of horny men, fuck them in the ass and laugh and slap five. This is what these sick bastards do. Hunter S. Thompson was getting ready to come out with all this, and they killed him, made it look like a suicide. So, yeah, I see where you're going with that, Matt. I mean, I think that's possible, that, they go and abduct some kid, and then they kill him in a ritual, and then they go dump his body somewhere, and then it's all over the news, and faces on milk cartons and everything else, and Next thing you know, they bring out a psychic, and the psychic is just conveniently able to find the body and be able to tell. And, that makes people go, well, is that real? Or, or does make people believe it's real. But really what it is that they're not giving us all the info. What it is that they're aware that for whatever reason, because this body was killed in the way it was, there's a lot of trauma associated with it. So for someone who is genuinely psychically intuitive, that body's going to be like a radar homing beacon because of its psychic energy and the etherical energy of the body and the soul. It's going to be, radiating so much, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb to the psychic, and the person's going to be able to identify it immediately, and boom, they find the body. The killers always like to have their handiwork, the body, be seen. And then, boom, we never find the killer. We never know what happens. The case goes cold, and that's it. So it's an interesting point, Matt. Yeah, it could be something along those lines, absolutely. Well, that's all the emails we got tonight. We had a lot of good ones. Thank you so much to everybody who's sending the emails. globalrealityshow@gmail.com. That's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. That is my email address, and I love to have emails from you anytime you want to send them in. I am going to take a break. And when we get back, we will get into some news items. We're also going to be reading from Zachariah Sitchin's End of Days for you here tonight. All right, back here with you on the show. Global Reality Friday night edition for you right here on the Global Reality Radio Network with me, your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here tonight. We're going to be getting into news in this segment of the broadcast tonight. My website, theglobalreality.com. It's theglobalreality.com, and that's where you find everything pertaining to my work. Next week is our fundraising week for the broadcast to pay the bills for the month, and we have just the amount left there on the chip-in banner. Not far to go, so please help us reach our goal so we can stay alive, continue, and get the bills paid for the month. That's coming up next week, so that's how you do that. And we don't have commercials. We're not going banner ads. We're not going to, as the listener brought up the other night, go, full-on unusable fucking advertising everywhere like every other item does. But the only way we do that is from your support. So please support our work and donate if you can, folks. Vitally important so we can keep going. Let's get into the news tonight. This is pretty interesting in light of what we've been talking about lately and the Zachariah Sitchin stuff we've been reading. This is a game changer, and yeah, as it says in here, you can bet your sweet ass the fucking Pope's all over this. I want to see it. I want to see it. Yeah, he wants to see it so he can rip it up. Apparently, they found some Bible that's worth, I don't know, fucking 14 million euros or something. 14 million pounds sterling or something. I don't know. But essentially what it is like handwritten in gold, and it was found in Turkey, and it was written in Aramaic, and supposedly it has Jesus predicting the coming of the prophet Muhammad. And yeah, the fucking Pope's foaming at the mouth, freaking out. He's probably, I want to see it so I can rip it up and shove it up his Nazi ass. No, it doesn't exist. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, well, why do you think he could predict the coming return? Just like we talked about, each one of these different deities had a time in which they could rule, and then according to the changes in the zodiacal cycle, the changes in the planetary alignments, another one would return and be the prophet for that time. I mean, this really goes a long way towards backing up what these Sumerian texts have talked about. A secret Bible in which Jesus is believed to predict the coming of the prophet Muhammad to earth has sparked serious interest from the Vatican. Yeah, I imagine it has. Serious interest. Yeah, I imagine it has. Give it to us. We must put it in our library and lock it away so no one can ever see it again. We'll pretend it never existed. Yeah. Pope Benedict is claimed to want to see the 1,500-year-old book, which many say is the Gospel of Barnabas, that has been hidden by the Turkish state for the last 12 years. The 14 million pound handwritten gold-lettered tome, penned in Jesus' native Aramaic language, is said to contain his early teachings and a prediction of the prophet's coming. The leather-bound text written on animal hide was discovered by Turkish police during an anti-smuggling operation in 2000. No, that's funny. So that's all they say about that. That leaves a lot to the imagination, doesn't it? How did they find this again? It was discovered by Turkish police during an anti-smuggling operation in 2000. So we're talking about before 9/11. So they admit right there that there was a smuggling operation going on in Turkey where they were smuggling antiquities out. Now, isn't that interesting? It was closely guarded until 2010 when it was finally handed over to the Ankara Ethnography Museum and will soon be put on public display following a minor restoration. Oh, a minor restoration, a minor erasing, probably. A photocopy of a single page from the handwritten ancient manuscript is thought to be worth £1.5 million. Turkish Culture and Tourism Minister Ertuğrul Güney said the book could be an authentic version of the gospel, which was suppressed by the Christian church for its strong parallels with the Islamic view of Jesus. Now, back up a second. Why would just a photocopied page of this thing be worth $1.5 million? Why is it that these ancient texts like this are worth so much money? Because the money is in keeping them suppressed. That's where the value comes from. So the more value that an ancient manuscript or text is, the more importance that there is on them keeping it suppressed and keeping the real truth and the real translations of it from the public. And of course, the Vatican being the guardian, with the Rothschilds being the guardians of the Vatican's treasury, you can bet who's going to be putting in a bid first, I'm sure. He also said the Vatican has made an official request to see the scripture, a controversial text which Muslims claim is an addition to the original Gospels of Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. In line with Islamic belief, the Gospel treats Jesus as a human being and not a God. It rejects the ideas of the Holy Trinity and the crucifixion and reveals that Jesus predicted the coming of the Prophet Muhammad. In one version of the Gospel, he is said to have told a priest, "How shall the Messiah be called? Muhammad is his blessed name." And in another, Jesus denied being the Messiah, claiming that he or she would be Ishmaelite, the term used for an Arab. Despite the interest in the newly rediscovered book, some believe it is a fake and only dates back to the 16th century. The oldest copies of the book date back to that time and are written in Spanish and Italian. Protestant pastor Ishan Ozbek said it was unlikely to be authentic, right? Because people really have time to fake, and somebody really has time to learn Aramaic enough to do this. What I just put in the chat room. So somebody really has enough time to learn Aramaic to fake that. Somebody had time to learn Aramaic and do that in the 16th century. I don't know. That's more flimsy to me than the Bible itself. You guys hear about this? Richard Dawkins admits that he's agnostic. I can't be sure God doesn't exist. Oh man, they're really ramping this merging of science and religion up together, aren't they? That's why we got to get this Rockwall thing done. So we can throw a wrench in the works of their merging the science and religion and merging, one world science, one world government, religion, one world everything. Windows 8 will now be built in with a kill switch to disable malware. And somehow that's turned into, on every Alex Jones and Truther site, that's turned into Obama now has a kill switch that's able to kill the internet. I'm not kidding you. That's what they're saying. That they can kill the internet with a kill switch built into Windows 8 with a new operating system coming out this year. But everything that I read says that they're going to be able to remotely switch off malware, because oftentimes what happens, you get some of these viruses and stuff, they get attached into and you can't get rid of them with anything. So they're going to have the ability. That's what it's saying. But all the Jones sites and everything are saying that this is an Obama internet kill switch and that they're going to be able to shut down the internet anytime they want now because of this. And that's not what I'm finding. That's not what I see it says. I'm not trying to play the contrarian here. I'm not trying to say that possibly isn't true. I know I've heard of the internet kill switch thing, but I mean, I've got the article right here from Bloomberg Business Week, and I mean, I'll read it for you. It says a Finnish software developer was cruising Google's Android market for smartphone apps last year when he noticed something strange. Dozens of best-selling applications suddenly listed the same wrong publisher. It was as if Stephen King's name had vanished from the covers of his books, replaced by an unknown author. Kyle Motke realized the culprit was a piece of malware that was spreading quickly, and he posted his findings online. Google responded swiftly. It flipped a little-known kill switch, reaching more than 250,000 infected Android smartphones and forcibly removing the malicious code. It was sort of unreal watching something like that unfold, says Kyle Motke, who makes dice simulator apps. Kill switches are a standard part of most smartphones, tablets, and e-readers. All have the ability to reach into devices to delete illicit content or edit code without users' permission. It's a powerful way to stop threats that spread quickly, but it's also a privacy and security landmine. With a rollout of the Windows 8 operating system expected later this year, millions of desktop and laptop PCs will get kill switches for the first time. Microsoft hasn't spoken publicly about its reasons for including this capability in Windows 8 beyond a cryptic warning that it might be compelled to use it for legal or security reasons. The feature was publicized in a widely cited Computer World article in December when Microsoft posted the terms of use for its new application store, a feature in Windows 8 that will allow users to download software from a Microsoft-controlled portal. Yeah, they're adopting, they're trying to fucking turn into Macintosh. They're not going to have a start button on this OS either. My advice to you, don't run Windows 8. To be honest with you, Windows 7 is the best operating system they've ever came out with as far as Windows goes. And I'm really, frankly, shocked they're already coming out with another operating system. The only reason they're coming out with another operating system so they can get everybody to think that it's better, so they can get you over to these new kill switches and all the rest of it. You know what? Honestly, if you get a 64-bit version of Windows 7, that will, I mean, it's 64-bit, so I think you can use it. You can use up to some ungodly amount of RAM. It'll recognize it to an ungodly amount. I think 32-bit will only see up to like 4 or something like that. So you have to get a 64-bit OS, but just don't get Windows 8. There's your solution. But the idea that they can go and turn off the whole internet, which is what Alex Jones is saying, that's not what the data shows. So once again, Nufo Hollywood and his fear sauce are sprinkling their doo-doo dust all over your enchiladas. Folks, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, folks, I get a big donation. I'm going to go out and get me the big enchilada platter for myself, because I do. Every time I go out with friends, I always say that. I always start waddling around like a penguin, like I'm Jones. Whack, whack, whack. Folks, I'm not going to sit here and tell you when I get a big donation, I'm going to go out and get the big enchilada platter for myself, because I do. Give you some enchiladas. My name's Alex Jones. Buy my shit.
Suck Satan's cock.
Oh, what else do we have? Father who killed son, 9 years old, in knife attack on family, told them that people were coming to cut them up and eat them. Yeah, people start to lose their shit all over the place, if you hadn't noticed. A man who killed his autistic son and then himself told his children that people were coming to cut them up and eat them. Maybe they were. Before the deadly attack, it emerged today, William DeJesus stabbed himself and the rest of his family hours after breaking into an elderly man's motorhome and shooting him dead. His wife has now been forbidden from seeing the couple's surviving 7-year-old son after admitting she helped DeJesus sexually abuse the boy and his brother. Oh, Jesus. These guys were just fucked in the head. Somebody's going to come and cook you and eat you, so let me kill you instead and kill myself. Oh, man. In the words of Bill Hicks, I don't think we lost a cancer cure there. Minister praises plan to heat swimming pools in the UK from fires from a crematorium. Boy, this is... wow. I mean, this I'm sorry. I mean, I know some people might think this is not fucked up, but I mean, do we really know all there is to know about, that when, what happens when cremations, and I mean, don't the Hindus consider that when during the cremation, like that's when the soul, ascends to the other realms. So by the Hindu definition, wouldn't that mean that the souls from these bodies in the crematory wouldn't be going into other realms? They'd just be going into the swimming pool. But you know what? The biggest thing to me about this is, and I don't know where you stand on it, you might be perfectly fine with it. And I'll tell you why I'm not perfectly fine with it, because I'm not one of those people that ignores history. And I don't know if you know this or not. Maybe some of you probably know this, but you understand the British Empire used to actually burn Egyptian mummies to supply energy to the British Empire. They literally used to burn thousands of Egyptian mummies. So when I see this history of the crown, burning mummies for power and energy, and, now heating their swimming pools with, crematory heat, I don't know, man. That just seems like, can't you fucking British crown motherfuckers get over your obsession with death and in your bloodlust? It's always about death and murder with the British crown. My God. Oh, we'll heat our swimming pools with the dead. Yes. Oh, it's fantastic, love. Let me tell you. Go on and have a swim. Jesus. Just disgusting to me. Let's see what else we have. Sting and the Tyrant, human rights champion, jokes with Syria's brutal leader. This doesn't look good. Maybe this is a wake-up call for people. Yeah, dude, these big time, elite heads of state and, secret society types, they love, hanging out with the elite musicians and rock stars and all this stuff. But yeah, this doesn't look good for Sting. I mean, isn't he like, Mr. Amnesty International and all that stuff? What's he doing hanging out with the head of Syria? He has championed human rights causes around the world for more than 30 years, from displaced tribes in the Brazilian rainforest to earthquake victims in Haiti. Sting has supported them all, so he will no doubt rather forget the time that he spent laughing and joking with brutal Syrian dictator President al-Assad. Pictures have emerged of the pop star, who has been an ambassador for Amnesty International since 1981, meeting Assad in Damascus. Yeah, that's that's really not the issue here. That they're, the point of the matter is that all that stuff, all that stuff is for show anyway. These guys are all hanging out with each other behind the scenes. It's a big brotherhood. This is an interesting article here. Hope for HIV vaccine thanks to mathematical formula that tracks the stock market. That's just par for the course, isn't it? So we probably had an HIV cure sitting on the shelves for years and years now, but nobody bothered to notice it because everybody was too busy paying attention to the math that was going into tracking the stock market. So it's probably been sitting there for years. HIV has eluded vaccine makers for 30 years, in part due to the virus' extreme ability to mutate. But now scientists have identified a promising strategy for a vaccine using a mathematical formula that tracks stock market prices. Researchers from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and the Reagan Institute in Cambridge, in the same state, think there's a way of trapping the virus, with two choices: being destroyed by the immune system or destroying itself. Vaccines prime the immune system to target molecular signatures associated with a particular pathogen, but HIV's ability to mutate has made it difficult to identify reliable vaccine targets. In their search for a new type of target, the team from the Reagan Institute targeted mutating amino acids. These are known to destroy HIV-infected cells. In particular, they looked for groups of amino acids within combinations of mutations that would have had a greater chance of making the virus unviable. By staging a multi-pronged attack against these regions of HIV, the researchers reasoned the virus would be either destroy itself or be killed off by the immune system. The researchers were looking for collectively co-evolving groups of amino acids with a high number of negative correlations. Well, that's weird. None of this, this article doesn't say anything about the formula for having to do with the stock market. It doesn't say anything about it. The area is involved in stabilizing the protein shell of the virus. Too many mutations here. Interesting with the team study HIV attacks, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't say anything about, it doesn't give any details. Isn't that interesting? That's the first time I've ever seen that, you know, they just make a claim and then they're nothing about, they're just talking about HIV and AIDS and how it works. And what vaccines can do. There's nothing in this article at all about this mathematical formula that tracks the stock market. Nothing. I want you to look at this. There is nothing in that whatsoever that says anything about how that works. I chalk it up to this, though. The same people that created the stock market are the same people that created AIDS. Pretty much, when you boil it down to it. Both were created by the powers that be. So, we can just leave it at that, I think. Watch out for the fireballs of February, slow meteors that shine brighter than Venus and bombard the Earth. That's, I saw that thing that streaked over Dallas a couple of weeks ago, and I got a report from one of our friends, listeners out there that does the anagrams for us. She said she was driving home on the North Dallas Tollway and saw a big green fireball the other night. I saw another shooting star meteor the other night, too. If you look up to the sky tonight, you might be treated to the annual astronomical phenomenon known as the fireballs of February, caused by meteors entering Earth's atmosphere at a low trajectory and speed than usual. The space rocks burn brighter than Venus in the sky, which astronomers designate as a fireball. Visible across the United States for the whole of this month, the fireballs have become a source of mystery for NASA scientists and other sky watchers around the world. That's funny. It's not a mystery to me. Why is it a mystery to NASA? I don't have a degree in fucking astrophysics. I don't have a degree in anything. But I know why this is happening. Oh, it's an unexplained phenomenon. No, it's not unexplained. The sun is going through a pole shift, a magnetic pole shift. That's why we're having the weather that we're having and these weird swings of, warm temperatures to really cold temperatures at night. And during a magnetic pole shift of the sun, the magnetic field is changing. So what starts happening is, that's why you saw the videos that come out over the past few months. There was a comet that went right through the sun and came out the other end. There was another one that got sucked in and didn't come out. And there was another video of it just throwing comets up, because that's what it's doing. These comets and meteors are made of mostly iron, metal, right? So they're drawn in by the magnetic force of the sun, and then they're repelled out by the opposing magnetic force that's pushed out from the sun. So it's just lobbing. It's basically lobbing rocks. The sun is just throwing rocks at us, at the Earth, at Venus, all over the place right now. That's why it's happening. How come I know that NASA doesn't? These fireballs are particularly slow and penetrating, said Peter Brown. Slow and penetrating, said Peter. Peter Brown. Peter gets, oh my God. It's slow and penetrating, said Peter Brown. Oh, man. See, I wonder if this stuff's even real sometimes. A physics professor at the University of Western Ohio in Canada. They hit the top of the atmosphere moving slower than 15 kilometers per second, decelerate rapidly, and make it within 31 miles of Earth's surface. Are these meteors, or are these the motherships coming in? That's my real question. I mean, look at that. Look at that picture I just dropped in the chat room. That looks like a motherfucking, ship coming in for a landing. That doesn't look like any meteor I've ever seen. This year's display began on cue this February 1st in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas. Wow. So that was the kickoff, the one I saw. Wow. Holy shit. Dude, well, okay. Well, that just proves it then. I didn't know that what I saw had anything to do with what they're talking about here. What I saw, folks, I'm telling you right now, what I saw was not a meteor or a fireball. That was some kind of a ship or something. I swear to you on my fucking life. I swear to you on anything. What I saw, folks, it was moving. Yeah, like they're saying, it was moving slow. Way slower. Oh, so this is some new phenomenon we've never heard of? Slow-moving meteors? Yeah. A fireball as bright as the moon was spotted by NASA's cameras in New Mexico more than 500 miles away. NASA researchers concluded it was caused by an object 3 to 6 feet wide. It was brighter and long-lasting than anything I've seen before. The fireball took about 8 seconds to cross the sky. I could see the fireball start to slow down. Then it exploded like a firecracker artillery shell into several pieces, flickered a few more times, and slowly burned out. In preparation for the annual Fireball Fest, NASA created the All-Sky Fireball Network, consisting of 6 cameras set up in Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and New Mexico. To date, they have observed a half a dozen fireballs, ranging in size from a basketball to a bus. The annual light show still has NASA's best stumped. They all hail from the asteroid belt, but not from a single location in the asteroid belt. Maybe it's Nibiru throwing stuff at us. The goddamn Death Star's getting close. It's fucking up the magnetic field of the sun and throwing comets at us. Marduk is on his way. He shall return. All will worship Ra, Marduk, on his return to the landing pad to assume control. Jesus. I should have fucking known, you know? God damn, I should have fucking known. All years of watching all those science fiction movies, you know? We should have fucking known. I wish I could go back in time to my old self when I first started researching this stuff and say, hey, look, it's me. It's yourself in the future. Let me give you a little hint to what all this stuff that you're researching, trying to find out about. Okay, you're going to find out a lot over the next 15 years or so. But let me just tell you one thing, and I want you to always remember this. In the end, what the end result of all this stuff is going to be, it's going to be all the best science fiction movies and books and all that stuff. It's going to be all that into one. I'd be like, get the fuck out of here, future self. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So my punk ass would have said at the time. But so slow-moving fireballs, that's when I saw that night. New phenomenon, never been seen before. I love that. Love when that happens. You know? I mean, I'm telling you right now, I saw it with my own 2 eyes, folks, and the way it came into the sky, it looked like a ship coming into the atmosphere. Did not look like a meteor. Oh, it's a new phenomenon. We've never seen these before. They're called slow-moving meteors. Yeah, that's it. That's the ticket. Global warming could make us shorter after horses are found to have shrunk the last time the world heated up. Me and my buddy were talking about that the other day. You know, could it have been that because before the Great Deluge, you had a lot cooler temperatures on Earth, and after the flood, you started to have a rise in global temperatures, and that this is why you started to see, you know, less giants. But from what I'm reading, the giants were killed off by regular-sized people, so I don't know, but it is interesting. Paleontologists studying fossilized horses have found a direct link between the size of mammals and the planet's temperature, with warmer times meaning smaller beasts. Researchers from the universities of Florida and Nebraska used fossils to follow the evolution of horses from their earliest appearance 56 million years ago. As temperatures went up, their size went down, and vice versa, said Dr. Jonathan Block, curator of the Florida Museum of Natural History. At one point, they were as small as house cats, he said. No way. Dude, that'd be the shit. Can you imagine? That's what I want. That's what I want for Christmas. Well, we need to get those Chinese cloning experts that make all the, you know, the glow-in-the-dark pigs and glow-in-the-dark cats. And they make us a miniature horse the size of a house cat. That'd be the shit, dude. Little tiny little mini horse running around like your cat chasing it around. That'd be fucking rad. The researchers say that the current warming could have the same effect on mammals and could even make humans smaller. Dr. Block explained horses started out small, about the size of a small dog, like a miniature schnauzer. What's surprising is that after they first appeared, they became even smaller and then dramatically increased in size And that exactly corresponds to the global warming event followed by cooling. It has been known that mammals were small during that time and that it was warm, but we hadn't understood that temperature specifically was driving the evolution of body size. So yeah, I mean, maybe that has something to do with the whole giant thing. I don't know. Very well could be, man. Very well could be. Well, that's all the news we've got tonight. We're going to take a break, come back, and when we get back from the break, we will be reading from Zechariah Sitchin's The End of Days. And we'll continue to talk about the Anunnaki and, you know, genetic manipulation and religious manipulation and all that crazy shit. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. All right, back here with you on the show. Global Reality Friday night, late night, Moonbat edition of the broadcast. Thanks so much for being here, everybody. Appreciate that so much, and glad you guys are hanging out and being here tonight for the show, and good to see everybody in the chat room hanging out and having a good conversation tonight as well. People are posting more videos from that fireball over Texas that I saw. Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely no, yeah, I mean, they said a report from dispatch came in, it was a meteor almost immediately as it was like coming through the sky. I mean, how would they know that quick? Personally, I think it was something they shot down, either a UFO or an enemy craft or something. That's what it appeared to me. It was something that was not in good shape when it was coming into the atmosphere, you know? It got hit by something and it was just burning up and breaking up and coming into the atmosphere, but it was moving way too slow to be a meteor, that's for sure. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. Support our work today by buying one of our DVDs, The Secret Volume 2. You can also get that on Blu-ray. Get a research pack. We're caught up on shipping, and those of you who haven't got your DVDs yet, you'll be getting those shortly. So be manning your mailboxes. A lot of you should be getting stuff like Monday, so definitely start checking Monday, and then on through next week, you'll be getting it. I mailed out a whole, got caught up, mailed up a whole bunch today, and our chipping banners are at our website. We just have the rest of that to go to meet our goal for the month to pay the bill, so please help us meet the rest of that goal. It ends on, I think the chipping banner ends on the 28th, so we got to get the rest of that in here by then, so please help us out there. If you want to help out with the Rockwall film, you know, if we have people out there, again, you know, they can, especially when it comes time to the dig, you know, we'll ask for people for help there, but we have the chipping banner up there for the initial budget for that as well, so please help out and support our work if you can, folks. We definitely need it right now, so hit that up if you haven't this week and show your support for what we're doing here, because everything that we can only do big things, we have big support to do it, so that's what we need right now. Let's get into the end of days. We're picking up reading where we left off last night. If that was the case, then what had taken place was a gradual buildup of divine anger and disappointment and the reaching of a conclusion by the Anunnaki that enough is enough. It was time to leave. It all brings to mind the decision of the gods led by the disappointed Enlil to keep the coming deluge and the gods lofting themselves in their celestial craft a secret from mankind. Now, as Nibiru was again nearing, it was the Enlilite gods who planned the departure. Who left, how did they leave, and where did they go if sin could come back in a few decades? For the answers, let us roll the events back to the beginning. When the Anunnaki, led by Ea, Enki, had first come to Earth to obtain the gold with which to protect the planet's endangered atmosphere, they planned to extract the gold from the waters of the Persian Gulf. When that did not work, they shifted to mining operations in southeastern Africa and smelting and refining in the Eden, the future Samir. Their number increased to 600 on Earth, plus 300 Igigi who operated celestial craft to a way station on Mars, from which the long-haul spacecraft in Nibiru could be launched more easily. Enlil, Enki's half-brother and rival for the succession, came and was put in overall command. When the Anunnaki, toiling in the mines, mutinied, Enki suggested that a primitive worker be fashioned. It was done by genetically upgrading an existing hominid, and the Anunnaki began to take daughters of the Adam as wives and had children by them. With Enki and Marduk breaking the taboo, when the deluge came, the outraged Enlil said, "Let mankind perish. For the wickedness of man was great on the earth." But Enki, through a Noah, frustrated the plan, mankind survived, proliferated, and in time was granted civilization. The deluge that swept over the earth flooded the mines in Africa, but exposed a motherlode of gold in the Andes Mountains of South America, enabling the Anunnaki to obtain more gold more easily and quickly and without the need for smelting and refining. For the placer gold, pure gold nuggets washed down from the mountains needed only panning and collecting. It also made it possible to reduce the number of Anunnaki needed on Earth. On their state visit to Earth circa 4000 BCE, Anu and Antu visited the post-alluvial gold land on the shores of Lake Titicaca. The visit served as an opportunity to begin reducing the number of Nuberians on Earth. It also approved peace arrangements between the rival half-brothers and their warring clans. But while Enki and Enlil accepted the territorial divisions, Enki's son Marduk never gave up the strife for supremacy that included control of the olden space-related sites. It was then that the Enlilites began to prepare alternative spaceport facilities in South America. When the post-alluvial spaceport in the Sinai was wiped out with nuclear weapons in 2024 BCE, the facilities in South America were the only ones left entirely in Enlilite hands. And so when the frustrated and disgusted Anunnaki leadership decided that it was time to leave, some could use the landing place, others perhaps, with a last large haul of gold, had to use the South American facilities near the place where Anu and Antu stayed during their visit to the area. And as earlier mentioned, the place now called Pumapunku on Lake Titicaca, it's some kind of landing pad in Pumapunku on Lake Titicaca. As earlier mentioned, the place now called Pumapunku is a short distance from a shrunken lake in Lake Titicaca, shared by Peru and Bolivia, but was then situated on the lake's southern shore with harbor facilities, and its main remains consist of a row of 4 collapsed structures, each made of a single hollowed-out giant boulder. Each such hollowed-out set of chambers was completely inlaid inside with gold plates, held in place by gold nails. An incredible treasure hauled off by the Spaniards when they arrived in the 16th century. How such dwellings were so precisely hollowed out of the rocks and how 4 huge rocks were brought to the site remain a mystery. There is yet another mystery at the site. The archaeological finds in the place included a large number of unusual stone blocks that were precisely cut, grooved, angled, and shaped. Some of them are shown in Figure 105. One does not need an engineering degree to realize that those stones were cut, drilled, and shaped by someone with incredible technological ability and sophisticated equipment. Indeed, one would doubt whether stones could be so shaped nowadays. The puzzle is compounded by the mystery of what purpose did these technological miracles serve? Obviously for some unknown yet highly sophisticated purpose. If it was to serve as casting dies for complex instruments, what and whose were those instruments? Clearly, one can think of the Anunnaki as possessing both the technology to make those dies and to use them or their end products. The main outpost of the Anunnaki was situated a few miles inland at a site now known as Tiwanaku. Tiwanaku. We're here at Tiwanaku. We're going to see if there's some kind of landing pad. I'm sorry. It's too good. I'm a fan of Childress. I'm not making fun of him at all. I think he's awesome, but some kind of. I can't resist it. It's just the guys. It's just too easy to imitate. It's too much fun, especially because I've seen all these videos and he's talking about all these places, Tiwanaku, and there just has to be one explanation, and it can only be aliens. One of the first European explorers to reach it in modern times, George Squire, described the place in his book Peru Illustrated as the Baalbek of the New World, a comparison more valid than he realized. The next main modern explorer of Tiwanaku, Arthur Posanowski, who wrote Tiwanaku, the Cradle of American Man, reached astounding conclusions regarding the site's age. The principal above-ground structures in Tiwanaku, there are numerous subterranean ones, include the Akapana, an artificial hill riddled with channels, conduits, and slices whose purpose is discussed in the Lost Realms. Wow. Tiwanaku, huh? I need to look into Tiwanaku because that sounds, I mean, goddamn, that sounds like the rock wall. Above ground and underground structures, subterranean tunnels. I just found out that there's a subterranean tunnel that goes from downtown Rockwall, where the old courthouse is, all the way to the river, to the Trinity River, which is, oh God, that's probably a good, 7 or 8 miles away. So my question is, why would somebody, that leads a lot of credence to the thing that people were saying that the wall was used to hide from, these giants. And that would make sense if you had, an underground enclosed tunnel that went all the way to the river, to the water supply, that was away from where your habitation was, so that you could get to the water supply and get the water back to where you were living without being seen by something. Now, what would you need to avoid being seen by? So that just kind of sent off a red flag when I was reading it. An artificial hill with channels, conduits, and stuff through it. Yeah, that sounds just like the rock wall. A tourist favorite is a stone gateway known as the Gate of the Sun. Right, they associate that Gate of the Sun with Viracocha. And Viracocha is the same as Quetzalcoatl or Enki or anything else. And that's what the Gate of the Sun is. A prominent structure that was also cut from a single boulder with some of the precision exhibited at Pumapunku. It probably served an astronomical purpose and undoubtedly a calendrical one. As the carved images on the archway indicate, those carvings are dominated by the larger image of the god Viracocha, holding the lightning weapon that clearly emulated the Near Eastern Adad Teshub. And indeed, in the Lost Realms, I suggested that he was Adad Teshub. The Gate of the Sun is also positioned that it forms an astronomical observation unit with a third prominent structure at Tiwanaku called the Kalakaseya. It's a large rectangular structure with a sunken central courtyard and is surrounded by standing stone pillars. Posianski's suggestion that the Kalakaseya served as an observatory has been confirmed by subsequent explorers. His conclusion, based on Sir Norman Lockyear's archaeoastronomy guidelines that showed the astronomical alignments of the Castle Saya, show that it was built thousands of years before the Incas and was so incredible that German astronomical institutions sent teams of scientists to check it out. Their report and subsequent additional verifications affirm that the Calisaea's orientation unquestionably matched the Earth's obliquity either in 10,000 BC or 4,000 BCE. Either date I wrote in the Lost Realms was fine with me, the earlier, soon after the deluge, when the gold obtaining operations there, or the later date when I knew visited. Both dates match the activities of the Anunnaki there, and the evidence for the presence of Enlil-like gods is all over the place. Archaeological, geological, and mineralogical research at the site and in the area confirmed that Tiwanaku also served as a metallurgical center. Based on various finds and images on the Gate of the Sun and their similarity to depictions in ancient Hittite sites in Turkey, I have suggested that the gold and tin obtainment operations were then supervised. That's interesting. They were mining tin because, again, that's what was that wheel that was found in the wall. Is this, it was a smelted wheel made of tin and iron and a bunch of different things. Metallurgy, and it's like 7,000 years old. I'm just seeing more and more of these. It's every time I see these specials or David Hatcher Childress in Tiwanaku here or something like that. I mean, every time I see one of those videos or watch, one of those shows where they're talking about these sites, I'm just screaming at the TV going, look, the rock wall has all of these features. So I have a feeling that when I'm able to show in the documentary film these correlations between the rock wall and these ancient sites like Tiwanaku and others, folks, I think that's going to be a game changer. I think that's going to propel this information into the mainstream community in a major way. I think it's going to turn some heads because, as I've said, I mean, there's similarity after similarity to these ancient sites and to the site at Rockwall. At least to warrant the fact that it's an ancient site is as important as any of these other ones. But of course, You're talking about religious people who are paranoid. If, they're afraid you go and start digging up these ancient giant, burial grounds that everybody's going to be cursed. But, oh, man. I have suggested that the gold and tin obtainment operations were supervised by Ishkur, a dad and Lil's youngest son. His domain in the old world was Anatolia, where he was worshipped by the Hittites as Teshub, the weather god, whose symbol was a lightning rod. Such a huge symbol, enigmatically carved on a steep mountainside, can be seen from the air or from out in the ocean in the Bay of Paracas, Peru, a natural harbor downhill from Tiwanaku. Nicknamed the Candelabra, the symbol is 420 feet long and 240 feet wide, and its lines, which are 5 to 15 feet wide, have been etched into the hard rock to a depth of about 2 feet. And no one knows by whom or how, unless it was Adad himself who wanted to declare his presence. To the north of the bay, inland in the desert between the Ingenio and Nazca rivers, explorers have found one of the most puzzling riddles of antiquity, the so-called Nazca Lines. Called by some the world's largest artworks, a vast area of some 200 square miles that extends eastward from Pampa, the flat desert, to the rugged mountains, was used by someone as a canvas to draw on it scores of images. The drawings are so huge that they make no sense at the ground level, but when viewed from the air, clearly represent known and imaginary animals and birds. The drawings were made by removing the topsoil to a depth of several inches and were executed with a unicursal line, a continuous line that curves and twists without crossing over itself. Yeah, it was computer-guided laser from the air. Anyone flying over that area, there are small planes at the service of tourists there, invariably concludes that someone airborne had used a soil-blasting device to doodle on the ground below. Directly relevant to the subject of the departure, however, is another even more puzzling feature of the Nazca Lines. Actual lines that look like a wide runway. Straight without fault, these flat stretches, sometimes narrow, sometimes wide, sometimes short, sometimes long, run straight over hills and vales, no matter how the shape of the terrain. There are some 740 straight lines, sometimes combined with the triangular trapezoids. They frequently crisscross each other without rhyme or reason, sometimes running over the animal drawings, revealing that the lines were made at different times. Various attempts to resolve the mystery of the lines, including those by the late Maria Reich, who made it her lifelong project, failed whenever an explanation was sought in terms of it was done by native Peruvians, people of Nazca culture or of Paracas civilization or the likes. Studies, including some by the National Geographic Society, aimed at uncovering astronomical orientations for the lines, alignments with solstices, equinoxes, this or that star, led nowhere. For those who rule out an ancient astronaut solution, the enigma remains unsolved. Well, they made the animal drawings first because it was a good spot. There was lots of gold there. It was a good place to land. They made that spot, made all the animal things there so people would recognize it from the air and see there and land there. And then later they built, that's when they deemed it an official spaceport and they built the runways and all that. I mean, that's what the texts say. Though the wider lines look like the airport runways on which wheeled aircraft roll to take off or to land, this is not the case here. If only because the lines are not horizontally level. They run straight over uneven territory, ignoring hills, ravines, and gullies. Indeed, rather than being there to enable takeoff, they appear to be the result of takeoffs by craft taking off and leveling and leaving on the ground below lines created by their engine's exhaust. That the celestial, no, I don't believe that. I believe what it is that we're thinking of these Anunnaki are coming down in planes like ours, landing on a fucking aircraft carrier, because we're thinking of things about in terms of our technology. The reason the lines go over gullies and they're straight, but the reason they go over rough terrain is because the lines are only there. You're talking about like traffic control. A plane, or I mean a ship that's hovering, has no need. Have you ever seen how like the Klingon bird of prey lands? It just comes in and just lands like a Harrier. You know, boom, it's just a soft, nice landing. It's got legs that come out and it can land on rock of any terrain. Well, that's the same thing here. So the fact that the terrain was unlevel is because it was, obviously there were so many ships coming out. That tells you the scale of the operations. If they were indeed shipping gold or whatever else out, the scale of operations was so big that they had an open spaceport going, and they were just, pouring out gold by the tons out of this thing. This, I suggest, is the solution of the puzzle the Nazca lines. Nazca was the last spaceport of the Anunnaki. It served them after the one in the Sinai was destroyed, and it served them for the final departure. There are no eyewitness report texts regarding the airborne aircraft and flights in Nazca. There are, as we have shown, texts from Haran in Babylon regarding the flights that undoubtedly used the landing place in Lebanon. The eyewitness reports relating to those departure flights in Anunnaki craft include the testimony of the prophet Ezekiel and the inscriptions of the Atagupi and the Nabunaid. The inevitable conclusion must be that from at least 610 BCE through probably 560 BCE, the Anunnaki gods were methodically leaving planet Earth. Where did they go as they lifted off from Earth? It had to be, of course, a place from which Sin could return relatively soon once he changed his mind. The place was the good old way station on Mars, from which the long-distance spaceships raced to intercept and land on the orbiting Nibiru. As detailed in the 12th planet, Sumerian knowledge of our solar system included references to the use of Mars by the Anunnaki as a way station. It is evidenced by a remarkable depiction of a 4,500-year-old cylinder seal now in the Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg, Russia, that shows an astronaut on Mars, the 6th planet, communicating with one on Earth, the 7th planet, counting from the outside in, with a spacecraft in the heavens between them, benefiting from Mars' lower gravity compared to that of Earth. The Anunnaki had found it easier and more logical to first transport themselves and their cargoes in shuttlecraft from Earth to Mars, and there transfer to reach Nibiru and vice versa. In 1976, when all that was first presented in the 12th planet, Mars was still held to be an airless, waterless, lifeless, hostile planet, and the suggestion that a space base had once existed there seemed by establishment scholars even far out than the notion of ancient astronauts. By the time Genesis Revisited was published in 1990, there were enough of NASA's own findings and photographs from Mars to fill up a whole chapter titled A Space Base on Mars. The evidence showed that Mars once had water and included photographs of walled structures, roads, and a hub-like compound, as well as the famous face. Well, that's always been interesting to me, that the face is located on the 33rd degree parallel on a place known as Cydonia, where there's also pyramids. And then when they came to Earth, where did they land and where did they set up the first habitation on Earth? In Mesopotamia, in what is now Iraq, that they called at that time, you guessed it, Cydonia. That's what Mesopotamia was first called. It was called Cydonia, and it was smack dab on the 33rd degree parallel as well. So I've never thought it was a coincidence that, it just, they just happened to land where all the, gold and oil and resources were. That was not an accident. Both the United States and the Soviet Union have made great efforts to reach and explore Mars with unmanned spacecraft, and like other space endeavors, the missions to Mars, since augmented by the European Union, have met with unusual, troubling, and puzzling high rates of failure, including bewildering, unexplained disappearance of spacecraft. Yeah, there's one where it was some kind of a Russian probe or something. I've seen video of it, and you can literally see the shadow of some kind of big-ass ship come in right as the video goes off and they lose contact. So, yeah, many people believe that that's what that those Anunnaki have been ruling world affairs from Mars. A lot of them never left and went back to Nibiru, and a lot of them have been, that's where the council is on Mars, and people believe that, the elite go through stargates and go in and have meetings with them on Mars. I don't know. I don't know if that's true, but I have heard it said. It says, but due to persistent efforts, enough U.S., Soviet, and European unmanned spacecraft have managed to reach and explore Mars in the last 2 decades. By now, the scientific journals of the same doubting Thomases of the 1970s have been filled with reports, studies, and photographs announcing that Mars did have a sizable and still has a thin atmosphere, that it once had rivers, lakes, and oceans, and still has water. at some places just below the surface, and in some instances even visible as small frozen lakes. As a medley of headline shows, in 2005, NASA's Mars rover sent back chemical and photographic evidence backing these conclusions. Together with some of the rover's amazing photographs showing structural remains like a sand-covered wall with the distinct right-angled corners, they should surface here to make the point. Mars could and did serve as a way station for the Anunnaki. It was the first close-by destination of the departing gods, as confirmed by the relatively quick return of sin. Who else left and stayed behind? Who might return? Surprisingly, some of those answers come from Mars. So that's the end of chapter 13 right there. And the next chapter is chapter 14, entitled The End of Days. So yeah, we're getting on into it now. So we'll pick up there Monday on that. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's I think that I think they're getting ready to come out with some stuff about Mars pretty soon. Yeah, all the red pictures have all been photoshopped. NASA actually Mars supposedly actually has a blue atmosphere. Anyway, that does it for our week of broadcasting. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, being part of the shows this week. I feel like, and I don't say this all the time, but I feel like all the shows that we did this week had some vital information in them, especially the stuff on the Giants and the Rockwall and stuff. Please go back and listen to those shows, either on the archives here at theglobalreality.com or on YouTube or something, and share those, spread those around, share those with people, and tell people about theglobalreality.com and about me and the work, and tell them where they can support our work at theglobalreality.com with the chip-in banner and the donate buttons and the videos and stuff there as well. Please support us if you can. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you, and we'll see you next time. You guys have yourselves a great weekend. Take care.